Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as usual, let's go over Tesla, let's go over the market, let's check out what happened and what we can try to figure out will happen for the rest of this week roughly. And yeah, so pretty much the usual stuff. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button. This is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. And of course, guys, memberships are now officially live. If you want to join, it's only $2.99 USD a month, which isn't too much in my opinion. And essentially you join it by clicking this join button here, right? It's all right here, ready to go. And I'll be posting these kind of posts that I did just today, for instance, talking about, essentially I will be giving you real-time updates as to what I think Tesla, is doing, is going to happen and things like that. Essentially what I do in the video, but as it happens throughout the day. So as the trading day is, happening and commencing and whatnot, I will of course be posting these things as they happen for that kind of real-time information. If you want, of course, that is an option down below. But regardless, all that being put aside and everything like that, we are like 20 members strong already, which is pretty nice. So thank you all for the support. I do appreciate it. But moving into it, regardless, we are going to be, the market will be closing in just about 8 minutes or so. And it looks like Tesla will be closing at about 1% in the green side, which will be putting us at just almost at $172. Pretty okay day, but for the most part, a sideways day, right? So essentially we had a massive rally, or at least not really a massive rally. We started pretty much all the way up here, almost at 174, and then we had a complete fall. And then we bounced right at the gap fill pretty much. And then we essentially consolidated for the rest of the day. So let's figure out what exactly happened. And as you can see, we did talk about how, Tesla, which this is what I'll be talking about now, but we did talk about how Tesla reached that Fibonacci level, which if you haven't seen it yet, for instance, right, I've shown it before, but in case you've missed it or you forgot or whatever, right? Essentially, you can see if you put the Fibonacci from that arguable swing high to this arguable swing low, we pretty much got rejected almost exactly at the level up here of the 0.382 level, which is almost at $174, right? And that's the first main level of rejection that I personally foresee happening, right? It's a pretty common area. It's a pretty, ideally Tesla would have liked to go to 180, but with that being said, I don't think it's done yet, and I'll explain why. But if there is a level to, at least for now, get a rejection, find some resistance and whatnot, not only is it this level, but you can also see if we move over here to the left, this was a bunch of, a little bit of area right here, and even just slightly above it at 175, almost 6 of in this case resistance, but also a lot of congestion. So there's a lot of trading volume essentially that occurred here, even back here as well. So now as we move into that area from bottom to up, that obviously now makes it a resistance level. And this is definitely a level to start getting some resistance at after this nice breakout from this level that we had over here, back when we were congesting rather over here, right? We had an inverted head and shoulders that we talked about several times back when it was still forming, right? And then once we broke out this level, which we also talked about, we got that nice massive rally, essentially all the way from 164 to 174 pretty much. Which is pretty good, right? That is a pretty sizable move. If you were to play this breakout roughly, that would be a move, assuming you obviously somehow timed the perfect top or whatever, almost 6%, right? Not too shabby. However, with that being said, would not surprise me again with CPI on Wednesday, right? If there is a bit of consolidation, if not even selling pressure moving into CPI day, which is again on Wednesday, right? So maybe tomorrow, for instance, right? That would not shock me whatsoever. And the main reason is because it's pretty common to have some, kind of uncertainty and fear and whatnot into such a big data point like CPI, in just a couple of days. So wouldn't surprise me if we get a bit of a sell-off, right? Again, with the major rejection zone, a pretty decent area to find some rejection, some selling pressure finally come in. And then ultimately, the main thing that I want to see is if we do get this rejection and if we do get selling, the other option is just straight consolidation. We essentially just go sideways kind of like this. But assuming we do get some selling, which I do think will happen, there's a few levels that we want to look out for, right? And we'll talk about that right now. So the first level that I definitely want to watch out for is the level that we bounced off today, is 170, plain and simple, nice psychological level. 170 is just, it just makes sense. I think it's a pretty obvious level. But more importantly, which I do think will actually potentially collapse 170, I do think we will, if the selling happens, we will go lower. The first major level I'll actually be looking at is like about 167, 168, something like that, where you can see we got this overall rejection here, and then where we actually kind of broke right above what you can see here, came back down, retested it with these two candles, and then moved up even further, right? So this would be the first level. But the second level, if we don't hold this, would be pretty much around 165, which is this level that we ended up actually truly breaking out of in this congestion. So in other words, whether we come down to 167-ish or 165-ish, I personally would not be surprised if we do retest one of those levels, because like I said several times in the past, whenever you have a breakout, for better or for worse, for bearish or bullish breakout, in this case a bullish breakout, out of some kind of pattern, congestion zone, whatever, in this case we had that pattern and congestion zone, It's extremely common to get a retest of that area that we just broke out of. In this case, again, we broke out of, fantastic. Now we ultimately come back, kind of like what this dictates right here. I'll just kind of redraw it, I guess, where we kind of, my goodness. Go ahead and change that. There we go. Right, where we kind of come by, retest it, and then move up. And then I think ultimately after that, we will get even further selling pressure, right? But very common to do something like that, right? So that's personally what I would be expecting right now on the 1 hour. The RSI is a little bit on the oversold side, but again, to me, that doesn't necessarily mean bearish. Oversold or overbought, to me, doesn't mean like bearish or bullish or whatever. To me, what I personally look for in RSI, I've said this many times before, is essentially divergences, bearish, bullish divergences, right? So in this case, for instance, if we do this, and let's say this is pretty much what we play out. Let's ignore the last part. Let's just do this shorter term like this, something like this, right? Let's say that plays out as an example, right? I personally would expect the RSI to do something like this, and then, sorry, a little bit lower, go a little bit lower, something like that. And then as we go even higher, I would expect it to do something like this. You know what I mean? Make a lower low and then start making a bit of a bearish divergence like that, even though the stock is clearly doing the opposite, right? So this is going up like this, while this is going down like this, right? That is something what I would personally look for to see if it comes into fruition. If this is something that we start seeing happen, of course, I will mention it, but that would obviously be, as the name suggests, bearish, right? That would signify that we are approaching a kind of near a short to medium term top around this 180 level. On top of that, 180 is just a pretty massive level too. Psychologically similar to 170, but even more so because it has more points of previous support, now turn resistance, as you can see, like all the way over here, right? Here, right? A lot of points where 180 acted as a support and resistance. So that's going to be, in my opinion, an extremely difficult level to break. And I don't think we will. Like, I personally don't think we will. Of course, if we do, we'll rediscuss it. But I, at the moment, based on how it looks, don't think we will. However, I definitely wouldn't be surprised if we do ultimately come up to 180 and retest that. And again, bringing back the Fibonacci one more time, as we discussed, you can see the 0.5 level is exactly a 180, pretty much almost on the dots, right? So that is the 0.5 level to me is a very crucial level. That is like a very common level, a very powerful level on the retracement. So it just kind of makes sense for it to come up there. But again, I do personally expect a little bit of a sell-off potentially into CPI, followed by a rally post CPI. Kind of got that out of the way. That unknown factor is sort of out of the way, which is always good for the markets to kind of unwind, if you will. And then get a bit of a consolidation or whatever will form around this 180 level. But ultimately, I expect a rejection and then probably make our way even lower, to the very least at double bottom at this 150-ish level, if not even lower, to all the way down to the 145-ish level we've talked about several times, which of course is going to be that gap fill right around here. Again, we've talked about many times, right? So that's kind of the main thing I am personally looking at, as of right now. As usual, you also want to take a look at TSLQ. And right now, TSLQ is also not looking that great for the most part, right? Can have a little bit of room for rally, but for the most part, it is looking definitely more bearish than bullish. Even if we get a little bit of, fear, which in other words, TSLQ will rally, of course, into CPI. The main reason is because, it looks more bearish because, this is not the best looking candle. It tried to come up. It couldn't get even past this level that it closed at on Friday. So ultimately, this to me, at least for now, still looks bearish, right? At least like for the short to medium-ish term. However, once, this actually makes its way, let's say down to, maybe like 50, 49, something like that, maybe even a tiny bit lower, as low as maybe even 48, which is pretty much Tesla going to about 180-ish. I do believe that this will actually find its footing, if you will, and then make its way up even further. At the very least, similar to Tesla, coming up to a double top at this level of 56, 57, which for Tesla should be somewhere around this level that we just experienced, which is around 153, right? Or it will go even higher and also start setting up a divergence, while Tesla will go even lower and also start setting up a divergence, except Tesla will be a bullish divergence, while TSLQ will be a bearish divergence. So of course, we'll see as it comes. That's just kind of what I personally foresee moving forward, and that's just kind of what I think will happen, right? But again, as usual, it's very important to just kind of follow the price, right? That's just a projection. Those can change. Those can be, it's educated guesses, if you will. But the thing that's not as educated of a guess is essentially, again, following the price action at the moment. The main levels we're looking for that are very important to pay attention to is, again, to really solidify whether or not we're going to just continue maybe rallying from here, or if we maybe do get a bit of a sell-off first, like I said, will be, again, for the bulls, if you want to just continue rallying and like no breaks all the way up to 180, you pretty much want to break this high right here, which is just shy of 174, right? However, if you're a bear or you want to maybe buy in here or whatever the case may be, and you want to see it make this kind of move like this, where it comes down to retest and then makes a rally back up, you'd really want to see a break underneath 170, which will then take us to about 167 to 168-ish. And if that breaks, which definitely a possibility will, I think that's when we come down to overall this level that you can see was a lot of resistance. So now should, in theory, of course, turn into support. And then, of course, we'll break, retest it and then move back up, which will take us to around about $165 per share. So that's kind of what I'm seeing, guys. Let me know what you think down below. But thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.